So I've sussed it. I'm just going to put my 2 bits of wood across here and then just put Starlink on the roof. So my next exciting job is to get the polycarb on the side of the shade house. And on the other side we've got something really exciting which we're going to try out in a bit. Look at the size of that compared to my pan. So I'm going to chop that up with some garlic and see if I'm still alive tomorrow. Some are very invasive, as people have rightly pointed out, and some are clumping and are not invasive at all. Halfway down the land, choosing ourselves our Christmas tree. Morning and welcome back to the wildlands. Lovely sunny day today, although pretty chilly. So with that in mind, we're getting ready for an off-grid Christmas, and we're also getting the land ready for winter. You remember 3 or 4 weeks ago I had a little accident with my Starlink. Do not recommend reversing your camper van over your Starlink dish. I'm going to mount the dish on the top of the shade house. So I'm looking forward to getting that finished, and we also get some chores done around the land again, getting ready for winter. It's been exceptionally wet, been very, very cold, much colder than last year from memory, and we've already had a few mornings where we've had a couple of frosts, so a lot of our plants are now in the cold frame, which you'll see a bit later as well. So enjoy tonight's episode. In July 2021, with the increase in travel restrictions caused by Brexit and the pandemic, we decided to buy off-grid land in Portugal to live a more sustainable lifestyle.
Follow along with our journey as we turn our beautiful but derelict land into our very own slice of off-grid heaven. Wildlands.
So I've sussed it. I'm just going to put my 2 bits of wood across here and then just put Starlink on the roof, screw it through the roof into the 2 bits of wood, and I'm going to use my pocket jig to attach the 2 bits of wood on here. So easy peasy. So I've taken the dish off the stand to make it easier, and then I've got these hex long screws. So we got the sun in our eyes. This is trying to get the cable over the top of the roof and around the back so it comes down. So we've put the old box up on the shelf here, tacked it all in. So this is the cable coming from the dish, and we've got a load of spare cable. Just shove away in the cupboard. Job done. So another chore done, Starlink done, job done. So my next exciting job is to get the polycarb on the side of the shade house. So there we go, new rickety side. Just keep the wind off, keep us a little bit warmer. And on the other side, we've got something really exciting which we're going to try out in a bit. Look what we have on the other side. Wow, look at this parasol mushroom that I've foraged, isn't it beautiful? To give you an idea, that's my hand. So it's much bigger than my hand. Isn't he beautiful? Look at the size of that compared to my pan. So I'm going to chop that up with some garlic and see if I'm still alive tomorrow. Just a bit of sesame oil, a little bit of olive oil, garlic. Fried down really small. Let's see what I think of it. So it doesn't look appetizing, but it's quite nice. Very, very mushroomy. I quite like that. I think it would have been better though on toast with some mayonnaise, or in a bolognese, or cooked as part of a normal meal. But yeah, foraging, kind of like that. But I know you have to be very careful, so we've been getting some training off Goth. So that was a very common edible mushroom, a parasol. The only thing it can really be confused with is a false parasol, which just gives you a bad stomach. So it's pretty safe, along with things like puffballs. But we're not very adventurous, there's millions of mushrooms around us. But I don't feel confident enough to ID them when there's so many things that look like other things. But definitely worth learning, I think, going forward. And welcome back to the nursery at the Wildlands, where we've got a few chores to do for winter. All right, Missy?
Yeah, I'm just taking all the little weed seedlings out of the plant tops before they go into the cold frame.
So what we're doing here is we've got some of the more successful tropicals that I planted either from bulb or from seed. I think we're going to leave the bulbs in pots and overwinter them. So once the weeds are out, they can go in the cold frame. We won't water them. We'll let the foliage die off, which it will do as it gets colder. And then we'll chop off the foliage, cover with fleece, and let them have a sleep over winter. And we'll get them back out when it warms up late spring.
Look at this cute little acanthus mollis.
Oh, lovely, came back, how
All
pleasing,
happy.
yeah.
And you got a couple of weenie bamboos that survived. You grew them from seed.
I did, yeah, that is nice. So let me show you some of the things that we've got ready to overwinter. So we've got a lot of carnas, which are from seed. They didn't get very big, but they made it through the drought. And as you can see, the foliage has already started dying off. They're a bulb, but they behave as a perennial. So you could lift them and dry the bulbs, put them in sawdust or dry potting compost, but I'm just going to leave all of our things in pots, the same as the alocasia. Let me show you the alocasia, they're my favourite. They didn't get very big, but hopefully once the fruit forest is established, we can get some nice big ones going, because they get huge. So this is the alocasia, or colocasia. We've got several different types, not sure what the types are, because we got them from Indonesia, managed to get them through customs okay. So this is one of the better ones, but they should be enormous. The leaves can reach 1.5 meters wide on established plants, but it is a bulb, and again it does behave like a perennial, and the same as carna, could lift the bulb, can split it, but we're going to leave them in pots. And surprisingly, got a couple of Musa basjos here that grew. And these are a member of the banana family. They don't have edible bananas, but they are very hardy. You can grow Musa basjo in the UK, and they get quite big, but not massive, so maybe 8 to 15 foot maximum. They clump, and in the UK, or here, where we get a harsh frost, you could leave them outside in the ground, but just wrap the trunks in straw and fleece. It's only the trunk you need to protect to keep the height, and then in the spring when it warms up, the new leaves will come out the top of the old trunk. These are an old favourite of mine that used to grow back in the UK. Again, these were grown from seed, and they didn't grow as well as they did in the UK, and I think they just died off in the summer when we had no water and we ran out. But because they're a perennial, the roots remain dormant, and now we get our second Portuguese spring and they're behaving the same. So they've sent out loads of new shoots. They might even flower in the winter. So these guys can stay outside. And this guy, some of you might recognise. If you look at the top, what does it look like? You would be right, it is a pineapple. And these were grown from a plant that Rosie bought that had a pineapple on it that we got from a garden centre, and then we split it, and I think we got 4 or 5 pineapples, and the one that we originally had that we put in the ground died, but that's also had 4 or 5 pineapples, so I think we've got about 10 now. So now that they've had a chance to establish, maybe they'll grow some pineapples for us next season. And then these guys here, if you've watched us for a year, you may remember are one of the rarest carnas you can get. It's Carna Durban, and I got them as bulbs from the Netherlands, and they've done quite well. The ones in pots didn't flower, whereas the 2 up by the kitchen did flower. So next year I'm going to try them all in the ground. So the 2 up by the kitchen I'm going to leave and overwinter. So I'm going to wait for the foliage to die off, then I'm going to mulch them. In fact, I'll probably mulch them first, wait for the foliage to die off, cut that off, see if they survive the winter. And then these ones here I'm going to leave here until the foliage has died back a bit more, and then I'm going to put them in the cold frame. But I might put them in the cold frame first because they're quite wet and they do need to be dry over winter. But these guys have the most amazing foliage when it's fresh, and they should have a big, tall, orangey, fiery red and orange flower spike, which is stunning. So hopefully we'll get flowers out of all of these guys next year. And then last year in March, you might recall, I went to the local garden centre and I bought 5 bamboos at 25 euros each, and I split them all. So going forward, that's part of my plan, is to grow a lot of bamboo to sell locally as a form of income for the wildlands. And a lot of people have actually criticised that and said we shouldn't be growing bamboo because it's invasive and it's not a native of Portugal. However, I would contend that with the argument that there's 300 or 400 different types of bamboos. Some are not hardy, some are huge, some only grow in rainforests and so on. Some are very invasive, as people have rightly pointed out, and some are clumping and are not invasive at all. So this yellow stemmed bamboo, which has lovely canes, is clumping, so it doesn't spread very much. So you could put this out in your garden, and of course it would get bigger. Maybe it would cover a 2-foot area, but it would stay in that area and it wouldn't invade the landscape and take over the Portuguese countryside. And then I do have another one that I propagated that is slightly invasive, but again, it won't cover a massive area. Even over 100 years, it might only get to 20 foot wide perhaps. If you're concerned, you can actually contain them by putting polycarbonate wall around where you plant them, or sink some tin sheets like the roofing that we used on the kitchen, and then the bamboo can't get past that and you can contain it in the ground. It's wonderful for hedging. It is quite fast growing, even if it's clumping, so it's great for creating shade, and we are going to put it in our fruit forest, but we will make sure that we plant clumping and not invasive types to give us extra shade. And I do love the sound of it blowing in the wind. So I've got 3 different formiums here, or New Zealand flax. These are babies, and I bought these even though I shouldn't have, because I'm a very naughty boy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to split these, and I should get 5 to 10 plants out of each one, and eventually they do get about 1 metre, 3 to 4 foot high, and these fronds get much thicker and more leathery, so they're an investment for the future. And then here, you might recall again from last year, these are Spanish reed that Martin and I acquired from the seaside, so I'm going to split them again. And then this bigger guy here at the back is actually a sugar beet, and he's doing really well, so he's just going to stay out and overwinter, and he's actually a perennial. This one we bought last year, and he's grown a lot bigger. And then here we have a fig that we dug up, all the leaves fell off, but you can now see he's taken, he's got loads of new leaves coming. Finally down here, last year Missy put in a variegated holly up by her herb garden, but it didn't make it through the summer, so she's bought another little one with birthday money that she got from buying me a coffee, so thanks very much for that. And that's probably going to end up being planted outside once it's a little bit bigger. Halfway down the land, choosing ourselves our Christmas tree. This is a little terrace. All of these have got to come out anyway at some point, because we're going to plant potatoes here probably. So I'm going to chop this little baby down, poor tree, and we're going to take it up the land.
Ooh, what's that you're using?
This is one of Daddo's many saws that is a handheld chainsaw.
That looks cool.
got it for you as a birthday present.
I was just going to say, I think you gave it to me for a birthday present.
Hey!
So that's exciting, having our own outdoor off-grid solar cinema.
It is. It's been a long time coming. We've carted that projector around with us for 3 years of van life and we've never used it, so I'm really excited about that.
You're going to make me watch Christmas films.
Of course.
And we're all ready for Christmas at the Wildlands. Doesn't it look great?
Oh, I love it so much. This tree is so much better than last year's tree. That was lots of fun putting up.
It was great fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I hope you're all getting ready for Christmas. And as always, thanks very much for watching.
Subscribe if you haven't already. Put out 2 videos a week. Waffly Wednesdays and Sundays of bits and bobs what we've been up to.
So thanks very much. And we'll see you very soon. Ciao.
Bye.